Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so happy to join you again today on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. Today I have a really fun way to stretch some of your floral stems, and I am using the Amazing Blooms stem set today, and I'm only using one image. So in this huge stem set there are amazing sentiments and 4 quite large floral images, and they can be perfectly used as a standalone image on a card, but I am going to repeatedly stamp one of the images, and I'm going to arrange these in a wreath. Now I'm using my favorite technique to stamp a bunch of the same image and have it be die cut as well. I learned this from Jennifer McGuire, and I just cut a bunch of the coordinating die from thick white cardstock. I kept one of the negative pieces, which I put in the corner of my Misti, with a piece of purple tape on the back facing up through the opening. So that's where the die cut is sitting. It's kept nicely in place. I put the jig in my corner of my Misti every time, and I line up the stamp in that negative space. That way I can stamp on all of these die cuts in the exact same spot every single time, so I only have to line things up once. Usually when you stamp a bunch of these images, you will have to line up the die every single time. This way you only have to line up the stamp once. So I'm putting these in the jig. I am prepping them with my anti-static powder tool because I'm stamping them in Versamark ink. This is a clear embossing ink. Any ink will work, but I love Versamark. It stays wet for a very long time and it stays sticky. So then I can just carefully take those die cuts and sprinkle on some embossing powder. I find that if you just hold them at the edges, you don't really have to worry about missing spots with the embossing powder. It's not that important if a couple of spots are missed anyway, but I also figured out while I was heat setting these, I used one of those reverse tweezers. You can use those for sprinkling on the powder as well, but I didn't want to bother with those. But if you just choose one of the parts of your stamp that doesn't matter that much, so for me, that's the stem of this leaf, the very bottom of this, I think it's a eucalyptus leaf. I'm very bad at florals, but I just hold it at the stem because it's going to be messed up. The powder is not going to heat set there. It's going to be a mess at the bottom. You will see it when I ink blend over it, but it's not gonna matter. I can always cut that very end of the stem off and no one is going to notice. So I heat set this with Wow Bright White Superfine Embossing Powder, and then I can just ink blend them. You could of course stamp and emboss these directly onto colored cardstock, but I just love the depth and dimension you get when you ink blend them. So I have a darker color at the bottom than I do at the top. And if you see me wave my brush around here, it was midnight and I still had to make this card. And I was chatting to a friend to stay awake. And apparently I do a lot of hand gestures. I didn't even know this about myself, but that's what's happening in this video. I love chatting with friends while I'm crafting. I don't do it often enough. Usually I just put on a TV show, but honestly, it's a much better use of your time. If you're in your craft room and you're not sure how to entertain yourself, you just Skype with some friends. That's always fun. So I'm ink blending these with some Pinkfresh Studio inks. I will link them in the description below. And these are Mint, Grassy Knoll, or no, I chose Key Lime in the end, and Mermaid Cove. And then I'm working on my background. This is a die by Crafty Meraki. This is the Wanderlust cover plate die. I did, after die cutting this out of thick white cardstock, die cut it again with just a rectangle die. So I knew it was going to be the same size as the gray piece I am going to put underneath it. So I just want that gray to show through all the lovely holes that die cut, and I'm just gluing it on You absolutely don't have to put glue on every single part of this die. That would be a lot of work. It will just stay on anyway. I am putting a piece of cardboard to back this and to prop it up, give it some dimension, and it's going to be very sturdy in the mail. It's also lighter than stacking several pieces of thick white cardstock together. I arranged all these leaves in a wreath. This took me ages to figure it out, but in the end I found an arrangement I was happy with. So I picked it up just with some purple tape on top of it to keep everything in place. And then I can put some foam squares on the back. I'm not too worried about adhering everything. I will, if something isn't adhered properly, I will fix it later. You'll see that. So for now, just putting some foam squares on the back of this and then pressing it down. I carefully remove the purple tape because, again, I am not entirely sure if everything is actually adhered down. In the end, it turned out that little very lime green leaf wasn't adhered down at all, so I put some glue there, and then I searched for a couple more spots where I should put some glue, and I just did. I'm using a sentiment I prepared beforehand. This is by the Stamp Market, and I just glued that on as well. This is just stamped and die cut, a fun love you sentiment. But this stamp set also comes with a bunch of lovely sentiments that would be perfect to place in a wreath. I just didn't want to put it on this textured background because that wouldn't turn out nicely stamped. I'm finishing this off with my favorite Meraki sparkle gems. These are the Golden Illusion gems by Crafty Meraki. They are so stunning. They shift between gold, teal, and orange. They're just amazing. These are the prettiest gems I have ever seen. I just glued a couple of them on because I'm very stingy with these. And that's it. That's my card for today. I really love it. It's super simple to make, especially if you use that die cut trick. I hope I explained it correctly. I always have a lot of fun making wreaths and arranging my florals on my card. Makes me feel like a florist instead of a card maker for a hot minute, and it's always fun. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.